Hello everyone, it's Jabari here. So over the years, a lot of you have been asking me how I conduct African history research for my videos. What are the best resources to utilize? Or how to get started in general? Well, I'm gonna be honest with you. It's really hard. Not impossible, just very difficult. I'd also be lying if I said I did it all on my own. Huge shoutouts to my team member and friend Trenton, who most of you know in the From Nothing Discord server as Red Walltile. Not only is he just amazing at finding sources, but he also digs through his university database to help me out. Despite this, however, there are ways to find highly detailed sources for African history with a simple Google search, and for most of From Nothing's existence, that's exactly what I've done, and what I still primarily do today. So firstly, there are a few factors that make African history research so difficult. For one, there is a general lack of interest and subsequently lack of dissemination or circulation of knowledge or documentation regarding the topic. With that said, finding info on African history is just innately difficult due to the rarity and distribution of info alone. Secondly, the amount of blatant misinformation out there, either from racists attempting to refute or downplay African history, or from radical Afrocentrics attempting to overly embellish facts or claim some sort of ideological connection with another civilization, for example the Olmecs or the Hebrews or even the Chinese. Lastly, just the general lack of consolidation of sources. You'll often find yourself accumulating stacks upon stacks upon stacks of resources which each contribute a tiny little piece of the collective puzzle for your research. On the other hand, European history is much more researched and discussed, and thus you can typically find much more info consolidated in rich detail, all crammed into fewer places due to years of refinement by several interested parties. So, how do you get started? Well, there is one secret that I'll share with you all right now that may change your life in not just African history research, but any research. But telling you right now would be no fun, so we'll talk about it later in the video. For now, we'll get started on the basics. Find a topic that interests you. Even if you don't know anything about African history but want to learn, there is always going to be a topic of interest that you can relate to African history. For this specific example, we'll use indigenous African crops. So once you find a topic of interest, you should immediately create a folder on your computer to save any images or files that may be important for your study. After this, do a simple Google search on that topic. Most likely, you'll encounter a wide plethora of surface-level knowledge and blogs regarding African crops, many of which fail to cite any sources for their research. These will be sites like news articles, top 10s, or forum posts. While these are not valid sources in and of themselves, they can at the very least aid you in the beginning of your journey into the rabbit hole because now you have some basic knowledge of what crops to research, for example black-eyed peas or kola nuts. Occasionally, however, you'll get lucky and see a link to an actual research or scholarly paper, oftentimes in the form of a PDF file, or published by a university or .edu website. In those particular cases, you found nothing short of pure gold as far as the research goes. However, this doesn't always happen, and in many cases it may be in your best interest to see if there's a Wikipedia article. Yes, I said it, Wikipedia. While Wikipedia itself isn't the most reliable resource online, it does have a strict requirement of citing sources, which are those tiny little numbers at the ends of certain sentences. So, for example, if you search African crops, you'll be directed to the Crops Originating from Africa category on Wikipedia, where you'll be greeted with a list of indigenous African crops. Choose a crop that you like and click it. Then skim through the article and see if you find any information that relates to its African origins, and look out for more of those tiny little numbers that I mentioned before. Once you find it, click on it and it'll direct you to the original citation at the bottom of the Wikipedia article. Sometimes these sources are less than desirable and it may be a dead-end search. If this is the case, simply find a different result like Britannica or anything else that comes from the initial Google search. Once this is done, pick back up on the process that I've outlined in this video so far. However, for the most part, I've had some pretty decent luck with it, despite not being a perfect practice, so you usually won't have to worry about this problem. For example, the black-eyed pea directs us to this outdated website on Wayback Machine, but it clearly states that the black-eyed pea is native to West Africa. While this by itself isn't enough, If you scroll down to the bottom of the page, you can see that, like Wikipedia, it cites its sources and references. So now you have just expanded your range of resources to search for to further broaden your research. When searching through these sources, always remember the keyboard shortcut Control F. It is literally your best friend. Just remember it, F for friend, Control F. Control F will allow you to search for keywords so that you can be directed to anything on the page that contains that word. This will essentially help you narrow down your search even more. Most smartphones have a similar feature if you are conducting research from a phone. However, if you have computer access, I highly recommend you choose that over a phone if possible. So moving backwards a bit and piggybacking off of my statement about the general lack of consolidated sources on African history, these references may not have all the info required to really answer all the questions required for your research, whether they are good sources or not. With that said, you might want to go back to your Google search and either search more deeply into the sources mentioned on the list or try a different strategy. One strategy is to enter keywords or phrases in quotation marks that you are certain may be contained in a book or article. The quotation marks let Google know that you are looking for the exact phrase verbatim. I also mentioned earlier that I'd share a secret with you that will revolutionize your research, and here it is. At the end of your search query, simply add .pdf. As you can see, we now have a long list of several relevant documents in PDF form available for download. Granted, you might want to take extra precaution for possible malware, but I personally feel relatively safe from it, seeing as malware is usually attached to files that are more popular, such as pirated software, gaming, or anything money related. I personally don't think anyone who attaches malware to African history documents would really get too many hits. Either way though, it's best to look out for, and I can tell you with confidence that utilizing this method is highly effective in regards to research alone. You should expect to sometimes run into documents that are behind a paywall, and if this happens, simply move on and try to find a free version, unless you're willing to pay of course. During your search, you will likely run into a website known as ResearchGate.net. This website in particular has helped me find useful documents for research time and time again and never ceases to disappoint. In addition to this, the files are totally free. You can even search for documents directly on this site if you already know what you're looking for by name. It'll also be in your best interest to check these PDFs for proper credentials. As you can see, this one was published by the Institute of Archaeology, University College London. Right away, we are already finding some very firm info including crop types, date ranges, and geographical regions of domestication. As you continue to scroll further, it's always a bonus when you find graphical displays or images of information just to give you more of an idea of what you are reading about. And once you've absorbed as much info as you needed, you can repeat the process yet again of scrolling down to the bottom and checking the references. You can dig deeper and deeper into these references and find even more info and repeat the process as many times as you need until all of your research requirements are satisfied. I'd also like to stress one more time that when people ask me the best resources to refer to in order to learn more about African history, this video is your answer. While there are a few decent ones out there like UNESCO General History of Africa book series, more in-depth and specific research requires the process outlined in this video, and unfortunately there's really no way around it. Until of course African history becomes a more popular and mainstream topic, more archaeology is done, and subsequently information is more consolidated into fewer areas that are easily accessible. So there you have it. It was a long road, and my research methods have come a long way since the birth of From Nothing, and honestly, I feel a bit embarrassed with the inaccuracies and general surface level content that I presented in my older videos. My research methods continue to expand every day, and I hope that it's evident in my newer content. I also hope this was useful to all of you out there hoping to expand your own knowledge on African history, and if you want to take a few shortcuts along the way on topics that already interest you, you are more than welcome to check out the sources and references that I post on my website every time I upload a new video. For sources, check out my website, linked below. If you'd like to support future projects, you can do so there as well, or by clicking the join button below, or by becoming a patron. I hope you all enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching as usual, and always remember, we don't come from nothing.